Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and we have a great review today for you guys as we just have received the brand new PNSO Tarbosaurus. This is one that I was greatly anticipating and one that I just, was so over the moon excited about because we don't have very many Tarbosaurus figures out there, and we really don't have very many good Tarbosaurus figures out there. So this is one that I was exceptionally excited about, and looking at the image here on the front of the box has me even more excited about it because I think this is the first time that I've really taken a moment to look at the images nicely and get a nice close look at it. And I really love the way they've sculpted and painted this figure, giving it that big, chunky, and very intimidating appearance like we saw on Wilson. And that's obviously our most up-to-date interpretation of what Tyrannosaurs potentially looked like. And on top of that, it seems like they have a really cool wash on the box here on the model with like a light tannish wash, and it really makes all the detail pop from what I can see on the front of the box, but also makes it look kind of dirty, which is pretty much exactly what I would expect this type of dinosaur to look like, kind of, a big, filthy, rugged animal, basically. But the box art pretty much looks beautiful. Again, on the front, we've got the PNSO logo as well as the name of the dinosaur right there. And then if we flip it over and we take a look up here, we've got yet another really nice image of our Tarbosaurus as well as the PNSO logo. And every life deserves your respect, which I will always say is completely true. And then if we take a look here on the back, same thing as what we had seen on the front as far as the image of the Tarbosaurus and then the information, but now in Chinese. So let's go ahead and break this open and take a look at this beautiful Tarbosaurus. So first things first, we have the really cool booklet that always comes with your PNSO figure, again sporting a beautiful image of the Tarbosaurus here on the front as well as the PNSO logo. And then we have kind of a sneak peek of the head sculpt back here as well. So let's go ahead and open this up so we can get this image looking here at what's inside. And I just knocked some stuff over here to the side of me, but if I could just get a hold of this. So on the inside, we've got again that head sculpt that we have just seen on the back of the pamphlet, but also an image of the Tarbosaurus just looking super big and intimidating right there. And then an image up there at the top of the skeletal structure of our Tarbosaurus. And then over here we have all sorts of information in both Chinese and English on the Tarbosaurus as well as PNSO. So as usual, the booklet is awesome, but this is always my favorite part of the booklets, and I'm glad they've started to do this continuously, and that is the artwork that they include on the opposite side with a really cool poster, and that is just insanely beautiful. Absolutely awesome. I'm always just in awe at these posters that PNSO includes on the back of their pamphlets. Look at that. That is so beautiful. Such an incredibly awesome image, just taking you straight into the moment with the Tarbosaurus. Just super, super cool. Again, these posters are absolutely awesome. And then here is our Tarbosaurus, and it is just as beautiful as I thought it would be, and if not potentially even more so beautiful. PNSO's figures are just so insanely impressive continuously, and I feel like every time I see images of other people's online, it's never quite as impressive as when I get them in person. Like sometimes I'll see people's images, and I don't know if people just have like bad cameras or something on the Facebook groups and stuff that I visit, but they always look kind of like washed out paint-wise, and they just don't look quite as nice as I expect them to until I actually get them here in hand and then take a look at them in nice light. And it's so unbelievably impressive just how nice they actually look continuously here in person. And that's one thing that I always try my best to do, and that's to capture the figures in my close-ups with a really nice light so you can see them as high quality as possible to really tell just how nice they actually look in person. So we're going to go ahead and jump straight to a closer look at this right now. So starting up here at the head sculpt of our Tarbosaurus, the detailing aspect is just gorgeous. Like, look at the very large scaling here on the snout of the Tarbosaurus. Like, that is just super nice looking, the way that they've sculpted out those large scales right there. And you can see as you lead back through the palate, like under the palate and back here near the eye socket area and everything, all of the scale detail differentiates itself as they have so many different varying sizes of scales. It looks insanely nice looking here in person. And all of the scales pop so nicely because they've given it that really nice tannish wash that we saw on the box art. You look down here at the lower jaw, again, such beautiful, vibrant detailing here as far as the scale detail. Of course, we have an articulated jaw. You can get a better look at what the lower jaw looks like now here. Again, the scales pop so nicely. Man, it's so impressive how good the actual paintwork looks on these figures and the sculpt work as well. I love that they've dry brushed the scales here on the lower jaw out really nicely, making them pop as well. You can see the eyes are sculpted out beautifully. Up here you have a nice yellowish coloration like a mustard yellow and a black pupil, and they are glossed beautifully so they look very lifelike and realistic. You can see the palette as well sports some really nice detailing, but also a few different variations of color, as you have like a light brown that transitions as you lead up to the top of the head to kind of like a light off-white. And then you have another similar coloration to what we see on the eye that kind of runs along the top of the snout and then up above the eye in that sort of crest-like area with like almost a mustard type of a yellow, which is a really cool coloration added as well. The nostrils are also nicely sculpted out up here at the tip of the snout. And again, we have that really nice articulated jaw, which can open really wide, and it works beautifully. Like, that is super, super smooth, which is pretty much how all of PNSO's articulated jaws have been for quite some time now. The teeth look really quite nice as far as the sculpting goes, and I like that there's like variations of brown included with the teeth. So it makes the teeth look like they're pretty dirty, which is again something that would be a very realistic aspect of this dinosaur. If it were alive, it would probably not have the best hygiene in its mouth, so you would probably find a dirty looking mouth. And I think PNSO has captured that quite nicely. You can also see the skin flap there on the inside of the mouth. Sports a really nice pinkish coloration as well as some beautiful detailing and a really nice gloss coat, so it shines very realistically. Looking at the dinosaur head on, we have some beautiful binocular vision right there as the Tarbosaurus looks at us, but you can also see the inside of the mouth looks great here in the tongue region. You can see kind of like a reddish wash has been added to the tongue, which definitely is nice to see some color variation to the tongue. If we take a look here at the inside of the mouth, man, that's nuts. I always am just so unbelievably blown away by the detailing on the inside of the mouths of a PNSO model. They just go the extra mile continuously to make it look so beautiful and lifelike, and that is really, really incredible detailing. And you can even see like the throat back there if my camera would keep enough light in there, but you can definitely see the throat is included in the back there of the mouth of the Tarbosaurus. Insanely nice looking as far as that mouth goes. As we lead back into the neck, you can see lots of really nice creases and wrinkles and everything going on. The Tarbosaurus has its head turned to the right, so would be creasing the skin quite nicely in the neck region. You can also see some really nice variations of like lighter and darker shades of gray, but primarily the entire body has a very dark appearance to it, which I really love because I feel like this is probably how most theropods looked. I could be wrong, but I really like the darker appearance on my theropods, and it looks great on this model. And as you run along those really nice darker and lighter tones of that gray, you can see a beautiful kind of a tannish wash has been included within the skin, and it's all over. Like, it's super abundant throughout the entire model, so it all looks incredibly lifelike, but at the same time, it kind of gives the dinosaur a really dirty appearance, which I also really quite like. You can see the throat elaborated here in the sculpt on the underside. Looks beautiful. You have lots of skin wrinkles and everything down here as well. The shoulder blade is present right here as far as being elaborated from the skin. You can see a few osteoderms right there. Really nice looking small Tyrannosaur arms. Beautifully painted nails as well with a nice black coloration. I like that they're held into the body in a really nice natural position. Also, as you lead back up into the body again, the texturing looks great throughout the entire model, and each and every scale is brought out beautifully with that tannish wash that they've included. You have lots of like skin wrinkles and everything going on throughout the dinosaur in every area. Like, PNSO models show off the movement of the skin probably better than anybody, I would say. There's just always so much detailing included in a PNSO model. It is just mind-boggling. Really nice variation of color as well, as you can see like hints of like pink, which is something that PNSO often includes on their models. I really like that, but you can see almost like some slight hints of pinkish colorations right there, as well as some light browns and then even some off-whites here in the stomach region. So lots of really nice color variation is included. You can see the same thing up here in the throat and neck region as well. You can see that the skin is stretching beautifully off of the body right here as this leg is pulling back, again showing off the detailing aspect of the sculpt beautifully. You do have the hip bones elaborated right here, and again, right there's a great place to look at as far as the way that that tannish wash makes the detail pop. It looks super nice right there, and again, the skin wrinkles and everything as you lead down the length of the thigh look great. You have some very nice muscle tone displayed in the thigh as well as the calf. very strong dinosaur for sure to carry that body weight around. So it looks really nice as far as the way they've sculpted that out, as well as the kneecap being present right there in the front. As you lead down into the foot, look at that beautiful foot sculpt. That looks insanely nice, and they've also dry brushed some like darker tones of color over top of the foot to make the detail pop down there, as far as like the scoots in the toes. Very nicely painted nails. With a black, they are given a nice gloss coat, and they've also included that tannish wash down here in the toes as well, which I really quite like. Beautiful curves in the toes as the dinosaur is picking its feet up off of the ground. As it continues to walk, you can see how that foot is just kind of picking up off of the ground, leaving the ground, and they've even captured that really nicely with like some wrinkles in the foot. Just looks incredible from every vantage point. You can also see the dew claw poking up back there. It is nicely painted. As you lead back up into the tail, again, more really nice creasing and everything in the skin. You have some nice light dry brushing included down there, some nice variations of brown, and then you lead back up into that gray with the beautiful tan wash that makes the dinosaur look really nice as far as a realistic paint application standpoint, and kind of dirty. Beautiful curve to the tail, very nice and natural curve as well. Looks super appealing to the eye. And then over here you can again see some more really nice creasing in the skin as the Tarbosaurus is stretching the skin a little bit over here. Actually, you can see some nice stretching going on right there, but some nice creasing up here as well. So lots going on from a detailing standpoint. You can even see some nice osteoderms and stuff in the throat region of our Tarbosaurus. Chest muscles there are present. The arm is pretty much in a very similar position to what we had seen on the previous side, maybe held into the body a little further, but it still looks really quite nice. You can see a few more osteoderms poking up here and there. Lots and lots of movement shown within the skin of the stomach region of our Tarbosaurus. Yet again, just like we had seen on the previous side, the underside is just as insanely highly detailed as we see elsewhere. And again, we could see that the dinosaur is pushing its leg into the stomach, bunching the skin up right there as it's taking a huge step forward. Beautiful tones of color on this one as well. I really love the tones of gray they've used. It's pretty much what I would say would be picture perfect as far as the coloration I would expect to see on a dinosaur like this. Very nice muscle tone applied to the thigh again and the calf. That calf muscle is absolutely bulging to the max. And again, you can see how nice the skin is stretching off of the body right there as that leg is pulling forward quite far to take that step forward. As you lead down into the foot, there is not a more beautiful foot sculpt that I think I've ever seen in my life than what I'm seeing right here on this Tarbosaurus. That is just so insanely beautiful, taking highly detailed to another level, but also just such a really nice bird-like foot right there on our Tarbosaurus. Beautiful scoots down the toes, really nicely painted nails, and again, you can see the dew claw a little better now over here. And even the undersides of the feet are insanely nicely done. PNSO does not skimp out anywhere as far as a detailing standpoint. And you can see, again, how the skin is stretching off of the tail as we lead out the length of the tail. From a detailing standpoint, it doesn't get any nicer than what we are seeing right here. And from a paint standpoint, honestly, I would say that this Tarbosaurus is picture perfect. Such a great interpretation of a Tarbosaurus. Honestly, I don't think that we'll probably ever see a better version. This one is just that darn nice. The Tarbosaurus balances beautifully, which is another huge plus for the model, but just in case you have any balancing issues at some point in the future, you do, as usual, get the same type of stand that you usually get to help balance your Tarbosaurus. If it does have any standing issues at any point in time, you just put the stand together and then bring the stand up here into the chest region to help it stand. But I honestly have not had any standing issues with any of my PNSO models that have released within the past probably 2 years. They've all continuously stood perfectly, so I don't expect anything like that to arise on this Tarbosaurus either. As far as a size goes, for a length, you are looking at about the 12.5-inch range, or about 31.5 centimeters. And then for a height, you're looking at about 4 inches, almost just a little over actually 4 inches, or closing in at about 10.5, 11 centimeters, somewhere in that range. For a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Golovosaurus, and Robert Muldoon from the Mattel Jurassic World toy line in comparison to our PNSO Tarbosaurus. And you can see that the figure is not insanely large. It's definitely not anything that I think will take up too much room. So you can have a really nice, big, beefy Tarbosaurus in your collection without taking up an overly large amount of space in your collection. As you can see, he's a good bit smaller than Mr. Papo-Rex, but for a different comparison that I feel like is something that is a little more anticipated than these guys, here is Wilson the Tyrannosaurus Rex from PNSO next to the Tarbosaurus from PNSO, and you can definitely see that Wilson overall is a good bit larger than our Tarbosaurus, definitely a lot longer, actually, significantly longer, but just generally larger in overall body mass as well. But I will say the two look incredibly cool next to each other, having such a similar style to their sculpts with that big bulky look to them, and both are just as incredibly highly detailed and beautiful as the other. So another bang up job from PNSO as far as a large Tyrannosaur goes. And then for one last comparison, here is the PNSO Tarbosaurus next to the PNSO Parasaurolophus. And again, giving you a good idea of what the size of the Tarbosaurus is. It's not anything that's super large, I would say. It's a really nicely sized model. So if you happen to have that Parasaurolophus, this should help to give you a good idea, again, of what the size is between the two. So this brand new 2021 PNSO Tarbosaurus is such an awesome release. I am so unbelievably psyched about everything that PNSO has been producing, as they have just been flooding us with some of the best dinosaur models that we have ever seen and will ever see anywhere, which is crazy to think because only a few short years ago we were like so uncertain as to whether the PNSO brand would even come back. We really didn't know what was going on with them. They were silent for so long, and we were all concerned that so many of the cool figures that we had seen kind of teased wouldn't see the light of day. And then out of nowhere, PNSO just came back, and they came back with a vengeance. And since then, they have been just flooding us with, again, the best dinosaur models potentially that we've ever seen. And I could not be happier about it because without question, they have taken so many species that I know and love and given me the best possible versions of those species to enter into my collection, overtaking every one of the previous figures that I've had of those species. And without question, this Tarbosaurus does just that. However, there haven't really been many Tarbosaurus figures for it to overtake, but even if we had tons of them, I feel like this Tarbosaurus still would have annihilated all of them. The sculpt of this Tarbosaurus is just gorgeous. Of course, PNSO captures every ounce of movement, as they always do, in the sculpt of this Tarbosaurus, and I think the movement shown in PNSO sculpts is better potentially than anybody that I could think of, honestly. There's very few companies that can come even close to showing the amount of detail that PNSO includes in their models. Like, there's just so much skin wrinkling and so much creasing and skin stretching. It's just insane how realistic the sculpt looks, to the point where it almost looks like a living, breathing animal in front of me. It is that insanely highly detailed in the sculpt department. And I love the fact that they've given it that really nice, big, chunky look, like we now know and love for our Tyrannosaurs, which I think looks, again, just as beautiful as it did on the Wilson the Tyrannosaurus here on this Tarbosaurus. And I'm a huge fan of the paint scheme they've gone with and the paint application, as I like the really nice dark tones of color on my large theropods, and I think it looks great on this one right here. They've pretty much given it the perfect, I would say, paint application for what I personally like to see. But on top of giving it that really nice dark coloration, they've managed to include like lighter and darker tones of gray within those areas, and a beautiful light tan wash that I think just looks insanely nice on the model overall. And even in the stomach region and the lower region of the dinosaur, they've managed to include like really like subtle areas of color, like some light pinks and browns and off-whites, and they've all brought all of the paint application together beautifully with a mixture of that really nice kind of tannish wash and then some nice areas of dry brushing to make it look just picture perfect as far as the sculpt and paint application. Everything together is such a beautiful final product, and I could not be happier with this insanely nice looking PNSO Tarbosaurus. So make sure, if you are interested in this, that you check the link in the description, as I will include a link to both the PNSO Amazon store and the Dan's Dinosaurs listing on their website, where you can pick this Tarbosaurus up from one of those two places. So make sure you check the links in the description, go buy yourself this gorgeous Tarbosaurus from PNSO, and make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.